Good morning, my partners. Hello again. Welcome to your instruction about the phone signal blockers. Today, we will have the opportunity to know about this equipment. How cell phones work? The mobile phone system works by means of three main components: the mobile or cell phone, the base station, and the central switching. The cell phone is nothing more than an advanced radio transmitter and receptor. The communication is through the air, and this brings us to the second element, the base station. This element is the first intermediary between our mobile phone and the other side of the line. It is she who transmits and receives the voice during the conversation, although we see later that it fulfills some other function. Finally, we have the switching center that is in charge of diverting the calls to the desired destinations. Whether we call or receive a call, this supplants the operator of the old days. So the phone's function is basically when our phone sends a signal to the base station, and this antenna or base station sends the signal through the switching center, and this center sends this signal to the final user. So the more common mobile operators in our country today are working in bands of 850 to 19,000 megahertz. And these mobiles, these cell phones, for communications, work in signals of 2 generation, 3rd generation, 4th generation, and actually in 5 generation. So that is the way that the phone activates the system. We have 2 batteries connected with 2 wires to the cell phone and the circuit. And these elements are connected with the detonator. And in this way, the detonator can activate the charge. The connection basically is in your speaker. So the speaker of the cell phone has the capacity sufficiently to transmit the current through the circuit and with the medium of the batteries to the detonator. Sufficient current or energy able to activate the detonator and the charge. Those are examples. In your screen, you can appreciate the examples about the improvised explosive devices by phone signals. in mortars, and in this part we have the phone put in Afghanistan in 2013 with one call missing. The terrorists could activate the charge for endure mission. The phones send waves through the air that we don't have the capacity to recognize, but these waves travel through the air to the dispositives. This is an example of one phone in Colombia in 2013. The bottle is a natural fluid, is in wood, made in wood. The activation system is by phone, connected with some cables, some wires. The explosive was R1, and this artifact contained many metals and glasses finally to cause the injuries of the victim. So in this part, we studied the frequency inhibitor. These inhibitors prevent the action of devices remotely by radio frequency. They are used primarily for security reasons to prevent acts of sabotage, espionage, or terrorist actions. Like this, the inhibitor of 100 watts by phone against the phone signals. It's an element that works emitting electromagnetic signals in certain bands of the spectrum through the air in order to inhibit the signal from cell phones at certain distances. His technical and tactical specifications are Pelican Mark, Pelican brand brake cases, each with a transmission module and power supply. The dimensions are 30 centimeters by 26 centimeters by 20.5 centimeters. The weight is no more than 5 kilograms for each brake case. The protection circuit in case of disconnection of one or more antennas simultaneously blocks up to the frequency bands of all cell phone operators in Colombia. Maximum output power of up to 100 watts. Type antennas, high gain omnidirectional antennas, standard for all bands. Directional antennas are also optional. Your technical and tactical specifications are internal power supply that feeds the equipment's power modules, which can be connected to an AC connection source or to at 2 kilowatts power plant that allows the equipment to be continuously powered. Types of power supplies: bank of lithium batteries, 24 volts, more or less, 80 amperes, with a weight of 27, maybe 28 kilograms. Power plant of 2 kilowatts that guarantees operation during 5 hours. 2 antennas, one for each 850 megahertz and 19,000 megahertz band. The components are the electrical plant, the signal blocker in VHF, and the signal blocker in UHF bands, 2 antennas for VHF and UHF bands, 1 power supply bank, and 1 voltage regulator. And in this part, we have the portable inhibitor of 5 watts by phone. This element protects the operator in a bubble of 5 meters around, as long as the signal has a lower level of 82 decibels. The characteristics are 10 period 5 centimeters by 6 and middle centimeters by 3 and middle centimeters. It is very, very small. Your weight is no more than 380 grams without antennas or accessories. With antennas, not more than 400 grams. Year of manufacture in 2012, output power 4 watts, 4 unidirectional antennas with 3 decibels gain, internal 1,800 milliamperes lithium batteries, cable connector for military battery type DB1207 and charging back for that battery. 1 battery is for this equipment. Accessories: battery charger, additional rechargeable lithium battery, transport bag made of material resistant to stress and humidity with corrosion resistant hardware and materials, with a harness adaptable to the user's arm. Transport bag made of a resistant material in plastic and in metal. Operation manual in Spanish. Plastic card for the operation of the equipment in Spanish language for quick use. The terminal antenna is of reference in TQX 0822LC. It is especially designed for antenna terminals in third generation networks. Small dimensions and lightweight allow easy installation. The frequency inhibitors equipment and your power is important. Low power jammers are usually portable and used in disguise to prevent eavesdropping to mobile phones with 0.5 watts of power per band and a maximum effective radius of up to 50 meters. They include an internal rechargeable battery that offers approximately 3 hours of operation between charges. High power inhibitors, meanwhile, are ideal for covering much larger areas. With a range of up to 100 meters and with output powers of about 15 watts per band. Other class of inhibitors very high power, covering radius of hundreds of meters, maybe 1 kilometer, middle of kilometer, including portable models, especially designed for the army and security forces. They are ideal either to prevent attacks with remotely operated bombs in large public areas, or to control situations of riots or riots, or to eliminate cellular communications throughout an entire building. The most powerful frequency inhibitors sweep the entire frequency spectrum between 20 and 3,000 megahertz, with a total output power of more than 1,300 watts. They are those devices specifically designed for anti-terrorist applications, convoy protection, as well as protection of personalities in high-risk areas. A set of omnidirectional antennas. Precautions for operation. Chassis power to establish the protection radius. When turning on the equipment, wait a minimum time of 1 minute to ensure transmission. Never operate the equipment without the antennas installed, because the damage is irreparable. Take into account the base antennas close to the frequency inhibitor. Avoid heating or wet the equipment. Never operate the equipment under electrical storms. Applications in operations area. This is the inhibitor of 5 watts, cover a bubble more or less between 5 to 7 meters. Your effectiveness coverture, and this is the frequency inhibitors cellular or cell phone signals of 100 watts with 2 antennas in VHF and UHF. Their bubble approximately is 50 meters, and it can increase or decrease depending on the condition of the place or the area. Those are the examples of inhibitors of some units, some countries. So this is the frequency inhibitors for the vehicles. A simple and cheap tool can be installed in the vehicles of politicians, of militaries, of civilian servants, personalities, and businessmen to evade that bombs are activated when the vehicle passes by cell phone or even by means of infrared controls. This is the inhibitor of 60 watts. So the method of use of these inhibitors is as follows. Turn on the inhibitor of 100 watts. This inhibitor sends the signal around the area more or less 50 meters and block the signals for cell phones, that in this case is the receptor, and in this way the enemy can or cannot transmit the signal through the cellular of the cell phone. The overall shade is more or less 50 meters. So the way that this equipment working, or the way that this equipment work, is through the two antennas, and this equipment is able to block the signal around 50 meters, 100 meters more or less. And the other method for protection of each one of members of the EXDE Delta team is through the use of the inhibitor of 5 watts. You know that the bubble of security is more or less 5 or 7 meters. In this picture, we can appreciate the way that locking perimeter to the sides with a bubble of 20 meters, more or less, when we have 4 inhibitors activated around, and in this way we can cover more or less 20 meters, a bubble of 20 meters with this inhibitor of 5 watts. Cutting edge locking perimeter of 15 meters. So the objective in this case is arrange a house in the high mountain, in the top of mountain. So the mission in this case was to arrive at this part and try to block signals by frequencies or radio frequencies transmitted by the cell phones. So this equipment may be put in a distance of 200 meters from the objective, more or less, is located at this distance. This is the bad way that the employment of the inhibitors very, very near to the objective, because the detonation is more possible that occur and is wrong the way the employment of the electronic countermeasures for this inhibitor of 100 watts and the 5 watts too, because the activation in this case was by the cell phone frequency. Although the SIM card that received the call and transmit the energy sufficiently to activate the explosive charge. In this part, we finish the talks about the inhibitors of 100 watts and 5 watts. In the case that someone has a question for me, please can write in the groupal chat or in the WhatsApp chat, and I try to answer the questions immediately. Thank you very much.